Hey, sixth graders, happy Monday. We are almost to Easter break. This is going to be your last math lesson until Easter break is over. So we're going to learn about percents today. A lot of this is a review, I hope, fingers crossed. It's pretty straightforward and just a very general overview of percents written as decimals and fractions. So as we look at our lesson here, as usual, I would like for you guys to take notes on the important stuff and make sure you file that into your binder. When you do your homework after this video, make sure you're writing out your work on a piece of paper and then inputting it into the Google form, okay? So this is a lot of information. It just talks about sales tax, and there's all different kinds of taxes we pay as a society for different reasons. Sales tax is based on percentages. So a lot of time income tax, property taxes, it's all based on numbers and percentages. So we need to know what percent means. Okay, percent literally means per ratio. And I'd like for you guys to write down this definition over here. Let me go back because I didn't mean to click on it. So a percent is a ratio of a number to 100. That's a fancy way of saying per 100. Cent, if there's 100 cents in a dollar, so think of it that way, per cent per 100. Okay, so I just want you to kind of watch this part. We don't really use this too much, but it goes back to, your elementary days when you're looking at shading things in for percentages and fractions and such. So if you look at this particular example here, we have a 10 by 10 grid, which means 100 squares, so percent, and we want to use this grid to model 17%. Percent means per 100, so if I have 17%, I am going to color in 17 of my squares. It's going to take a minute to fill in. You don't need to do this. You don't need to put this in your notes. I just want you to know that this is a thing, okay? This is how we represent 17%. So in your mind, you should say, oh, 17% is a pretty low number. It is, okay? There's only 17 out of these 100 squares filled in. We're going to skip the next one. It's the same idea. Okay, now, the first real important thing that we're going to look at here is writing percents as fractions, okay? And anytime you write anything as a fraction, you have to write it in simplest form, which means we reduce it. We find equivalent fractions, which is stuff we've been doing all year long. So I want to write 35% as a fraction, okay? And let's see here. 35% means 35 per 100 or 35 100ths. Okay, hopefully it jumps out at you that this is not reduced. It's not as in most simplest form. They're both divisible by 5. And when we reduce our fraction, we get 7/20ths. So 35% is the same as 7/20ths. Let's try another one. Janelle has 20% body fat. Write 20% as a fraction in simplest form. 20% means 20 per 100. So 20 100ths is the same as 20%. Again, this should jump out at you big time that this can be reduced. And when we do that, we get 1/5. They're both divisible by 20. We're going to divide both by 20 to reduce it down to 1/5. And remember what I said in the past. If you're not sure the biggest number that goes into the numbers of the fractions, which is called the GCF, you want to make sure to continue reducing until it's as reduced as possible. So if you were to have divide this by 5 at first, you'd get there. You just take a few extra steps. Okay, so 20% is the same as 1/5. We're going to skip this. It's the same idea. Okay, next, we're going to move on and write our percents as decimals now. Okay, this is not too bad. I'm going to show you how to write this as a decimal. And it's very simple. If you look down here, remember this whole thing is about percents per 100. There are 2 zeros in 100. So we know by our multiplication and division rules that if we have a base 10, so 10, 100, 1,000, we count how many zeros there are and we move our decimals accordingly. So if you look down here at this handy dandy rule, when we're changing a percent into a decimal, we move our decimal point 2 spots to the left. So without doing any math whatsoever, you're going to take 56%. Here's where the decimal normally would be, behind the 6, and we're going to move it 2 spots, and that's going to give us our new answer of 56%, or I'm sorry, 56 hundredths, which is right here, 0.56. Now, when I said that the right way, 56 hundredths, look what we got here, 56 hundredths. Okay, so there's really no math involved. They do show you that you can do a division problem, which we've done this before. Earlier in the year, we took the numerator, which was 56, and divided it by the denominator of 100. And if we did that long division, we would get 0.56 as well. Okay, let's look at the next one. Without doing anything. Pause it. What do we need to do? Take a pause. 32%. We need to take the decimal, which is technically behind this 2, and move it 2 spots to the left. And we have our answer of 0.32. We don't need to do any of this stuff right here. None of it. This method right here will come in handy in a bit, but you don't need to do it right at this moment. Okay. So Walter made up 85%. I'm sorry, water, not Walter. I don't know where that came from. Water made up 85% of the fluids that Kirk drank yesterday. That's pretty good. Write 85% as a decimal. Again, we don't have to do anything special. We can move our decimal over 2 spots, and we know our answer is 0.85 or 85 hundredths. Okay, boom, there you go. And here we go with Lisa. Lisa drank some fluids, and 95% of that was water. So that's fantastic. We want to write 95% as a decimal. And again, move the decimal over 2 spots to the left, and we get 0.95. And that is really it. There is not much more going on with this particular lesson. Your homework, be aware, is all today because it's such an easy lesson. So you're going to work on page 311, numbers 13 to 33 all, and you will be all set. If I don't talk to you, I hope I talk to you at Zoom on Wednesday, actually Zoom is today on Monday for 6th graders. Hopefully you and your family have a wonderful Easter, and I will talk to you guys very soon.